Kinetics has been made in association with Road Race Parts. Top quality, best prices, no compromise. Head to roadraceparts.com to get parts for your racing vehicles now. Hello and welcome to a new episode of Velocity Kinetics. Today I want to talk about something that I think is quite important. It's so important that I can't set aside some time to do it on my day off, so I'm having to do it whilst I'm multitasking, doing things, wrapping a present for a friend's little boy. Cheeky chap he is though, and amongst other things, and trying to update my partner's tablet transformer book thing. But what I want to discuss is engine modes in F1. Now, I haven't had a chance to watch the race as of yet, but I got a chance, well, I might as well have not watched it because of all the commentary that was going on Twitter from people who were going to go off and write their race report and things like, you're not even in a blog that's getting noticed. Like, Velocity Kinetics isn't getting noticed that much, really. Get quite a few people. There's quite a few of the videos on the Facebook page are apparently reaching people, but I think it's mostly because my significant other shares the post, and then we get like 80, 120 odd people reached, which I mean, it's great. It's just not transforming into likes on the page. So it's a hard field to break into. But anyway. Number of people commentating on the race. I might as well didn't really need to watch it, but hopefully at some point today, if I can grab a few free minutes, I will be trying to watch it. Now, what I heard a lot of is how in the final qualifying session, how Lewis Hamilton just managed to somehow extend his advantage over everyone so much. Like he was just able to turn the engine mode on, basically change the engine mode, get all this power, and then he was gone. Now, I'm not too fond of all these different engine modes and things. Now, the thing is though, when we're talking about all these different engine modes in Formula 1, we're not necessarily sure that there's actually a different mode in the car, because naturally the team are not ever going to reveal whether there is or isn't another engine mode for the car to run in. Yucky. They won't reveal whether there's another engine mode or not. It could be an entirely, say for instance, if it's got a dial on the steering wheel, which as I gather that's how Lewis turns the power up, as do most F1 teams. How do we know that mode number 11 isn't just a placebo mode, but he believes he's suddenly got all this extra power, and in actual fact the Mercedes is just running in its normal, nothing more different, which is actually in many ways more terrifying than if he's got another mode. But if you remember a few years ago when Schumi was at Mercedes, he had I think it was when he got his pole at Monaco to use magic paddle, strap mode 42 and things, and it's like, my bugbear with these, shouldn't the car be running at its optimum power and maximum power the entire time? Because it's a similar bugbear I have on the road with a lot of cars, like for instance the Honda CRZ or CRZ had a button that made you went from econ mode to normal mode to sport mode. My argument is, why do you need all those different modes? Or Top Gear USA, they did the, what was it, from California to San Francisco, or San Francisco to California, I think it was. I think it was like a 500-mile drive, basically, and you had to do it in one tank of fuel. That was an episode where Rutledge had bought a VW Passat, I think it was. Or might have been a Passat Toledo. Anyway, it was something old, pre-2000. Tanner turned up in a Beamer 5 Series, and Adam, being Adam, turned up in a giant Ford F450, I think it was, F350. It was a giant pickup truck. Tanner said in his thing, like, this eco mode, instead of me having to lift off the throttle, it just makes the throttle less responsive. Surely you're in control with your right foot as to how responsive the engine is. That's what my argument would be with F1. Surely that's a way to cut some costs, is it not? You cut the cost by getting rid of some of the pointless electronics in the car, and pointless engine modes and pointless software. development, don't you? Or is this me just trying to be too ideological and idealistic? Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. It's a hard one to work out. I mean, it's. Some people would say I should think about what I'm going to say before I start recording, won't they? It gets me because these are some of the best drivers in the world. They have got car control skills that in their sleep that I wish I would have, that I will ever have in my entire life. So it's not right, in my opinion, that they should have all these different engine modes. One for eco, one for more power, one for this, one for that. Surely that the engine should be running in whatever mode it's running in, and then if you need more power, you put your foot further to the throttle, and if you need less power, you lift off the throttle like you would in a road car. I know back in the 80s when the turbos first came in, they had effectively had to push the pass, increase your turbo pressure, then boost down, and that was it. And then you got when KERS came in, you could argue it was a push to pass thing. And then when DRS came in, was it push to pass? Which it kind of was and it kind of wasn't. But I appreciate they're going to have these energy recovery systems, because why not? If you can harness power out of it, why not? Effectively, yes, it is going to create a push to pass thing, and DRS is going to create a push to pass system. So why should you have, after those two facilities, an extra function to make the car go even faster? It's not right, it's not fair. It's hard to describe what my true opinion is of it, because it's obvious I'm not a fan of the different engine modes. What also gets me is how Mercedes can just and go, and yet the Force India and the Williams with the same engine in the back just can't seem to turn it up the same. Now, I appreciate there is an element of chassis development and aerodynamics, which will obviously give the Mercedes a slightly better advantage, but even so, you'd have thought with brute force, the Mercedes would still win, just brute force from the engine, and then with the brute force that the Mercedes power unit gives the Williams and the Force India, you'd have thought that it should be like Hamilton, Valtteri, Stroll, Sirotkin, Perez, Ocon. Top six decided week in, week out. And when Manor around, it should have been Verline and Haryanto at the end of that, or whoever else was running Ocon was running the second seat as well at one point. So it's not an easy thing to decide, and it's not an easy thing to work out what to do. I have a couple of proposals which I think would be so much better for the sport. My proposal would be: you are that much of a better driver than everyone else. Use your right foot to slow up and speed your car down. None of this strap mode and magic paddle and party mode and hammer time. I think they tried, I'm sure the FIA tried to get rid of people using said lingo. They tried to get rid of people using said lingo. Sorry, my handwriting is so terrible. It's a card going to a 3-year-old that I have to make sure I'm so tidy with my handwriting. It's ridiculous. Not that I have to be tidy with it for a 3-year-old. It's just the fact my handwriting is so bad. Well, because I spend so much time on computers, I don't practice very much. My handwriting, ironically, was a bit better when I was at sixth form, and even then my sixth form teachers were saying, improve it. So, anyway, I think they need to ban all these different party modes, hammer time modes, boost modes, whatever you want to call them. Your engineers are the best in the world. You should have been able to put together the best engine anyone can think of. Doesn't matter whether it's got to last 2 races, 3 races, 4 races, 5 races, however many races it's got to last. You should be able to then, how do we put it? You should be able to then make it so your drivers can just use the engine as they see fit. They shouldn't have to use all these different modes. Not that I'm hearkening going back to, if you look at, say, trying to think what one, if you look at, say, an FW16, when they often have parade it out on the for the event days and things. It's got like 3-4 buttons on the steering wheel, that's it. I'm not saying go all the way back to that. Shoot, I've just put I'm so used to writing my girlfriend's name on envelopes for cards and birthdays, I have just messed it up. We can rescue this. It winds me up that we've got all these different modes on these cars that other teams with the same engine in can't get close to what the other teams can do. So say for instance Williams can't even begin to get close to what the works Mercedes can do, and yet the works Mercedes can just plough on and on and on and just blitz the competition. Where have I put my scissors? That is a ball leg. Here. Put Clarence over there. This is Clarence. So if you get rid of all these different engine modes, going to make it a more even playing field. I appreciate there was a thing go around recently that where teams are now supposed to give the same advantage. Engine manufacturers works teams are meant to give the same units to everyone. And supposedly Christian Horner, being a bit of an arsehole, because well, he is a bit of an arsehole, said, well, this has all come about by Claire Williams talking about not getting the same parity from Mercedes. Now, I don't think Claire Williams did say anything, because she's got more sense than that, and if anything, if anyone was going to say anything, if Claire said something, it would have come via Sir Frank, I would have thought. But it is unbelievable that you've got all the different teams powered by some by Ferrari, some by Mercedes, some by Renault, one by Honda. Well, the Honda one we can't. The Honda is currently excluded from this conversation because we just don't know what they will be like when they get more than one team wanting their supply. You saw the parity between all the Renault teams. At one point, they were running 5, 6, and 7, I believe. I believe it was Alonso, then Verstappen, then Hülkenberg. That parity is pretty good because then it does just come down to the chassis being the main difference. And at that point, it probably was only... Can't have all of these different teams running the same engine and for there to be such a big difference. It's not just a case of the money that the different monies that the team has, because it doesn't matter what team you race for, doesn't matter what team you're employed by, they're all going to be different cash flows. Even if every team, say, was limited to 150 million, one team will find a way to spend more. What a birthday present for a 3-year-old. Bought at Christmas from Aldi, should be 140 quid, and it only spent 20. Hopefully he gets the bug to read like his dad did, or does. I need to work out how to wrap. Yeah, it winds me up that these teams have... all these teams that are in... I know F1 is a giant engineering exercise, but why do we have to have... Why do we have to have such gargantuan differences in performance between all the different teams? And we're not talking 2 or 3 tenths here. At points we're talking 2 or 3 seconds, which it upsets me, it winds me up. I just don't know how to put it. I can't... You can see just by how I'm struggling to put my words out, just how much I can't work out what to say. Not anything to do with... I mean, I did have a bad nosebleed last week and I've just felt off since, but that's not really the main issue. It's more the case of, like I said, we've got all these teams, all this engineering expertise. There'll be things that Williams have thought of that Mercedes haven't thought of, and they'll go, oh, I wish we'd thought of that. There'll be things that Sauber have thought of that Ferrari hadn't thought of, and they'll go, oh, I wish we thought of that. And yet the engine is where they're allowed to have seemingly still have such great differences. And I just don't know how they're allowed to get away with it. A driver like Lewis Hamilton, or Fernando Alonso, or Vettel, or Bottas, or Verstappen, or Ricciardo will just find a way to get more out of a car. That's inevitable. But we shouldn't be having teams with the same engine unless you've done something like a McLaren did in testing and packaged it so tight or packaged it so wrongly that that the engine just can't breathe, it can't cool, or whatever you want to put it, or you've installed it wrong. Barring the team making a monumental cock-up of that nature, how on earth are they allowed to have such great big differences? And I think, more than anything, the FIA, Liberty, FOM, whatever you want to call whoever's in charge of F1, but I think that is the core of what they need to be looking at. Because if you've got, say, a team like Williams, who are no slouches, who are no dunces, and can produce a pretty fast race car, as demonstrated with FW36 and 37 and 34 to an extent, but you shouldn't have such great big differences. Now, the problem is for the likes of Renault and Mercedes and Ferrari, if they want to do something with the packaging of the engine, they can just go across the engineering team, or the engineering team, the team building the engine, and just go, if we want to do this, is this feasible? Then they'll go, see, or yeah, or oui. They'll get an answer that says yes, they can do it. Ja, mein Herr. They'll get an answer saying, yep, you can, no, you can't, piss off, I'm busy, kind of response. But for the likes of Red Bull, Williams, Force India, they go, well, we want to try and package the engine this way. I don't think they can just call up Mercedes and say, we want to package the engine this way. Can we? They've got to basically integrate the engine and then wait to find out if what they want to do is even remotely feasible. Which is not, it's not right, and it seems to make a mockery of them having the support of the works, well, not necessarily not the works, but having the support of the team. So then, how do you fix it? Do you fix it by saying, well, everyone's got to use the same engine? To bring in someone like Ilian or Cosworth or someone like that to build everyone's engines? Well, no, because then what's the point in having Ferrari? Ferrari don't use their own engines. Ferrari won't use anyone else's engines. Mercedes won't use anyone else's engines. And Renault won't build anyone else's engines, because for those three manufacturers, they've got road car businesses to attend to, and look at how much more business they will get if they can say, well, we supplied the engine that made Lewis Hamilton, Sebastian Vettel, or Ricciardo world champion. In fact, for years on the back of any Renault car you bought, they used to say constructors at F1 constructors world champions for whatever year, and then it had a picture of a Red Bull on, or at least it did before I bought my Swift. I looked at buying a Renault Clio, and that was slapped all over the back of the Clio I nearly bought. How do we fix the parity? So I think what we should do, obviously not have everyone use the same engine, because that's just not going to be fair. I would, if a team makes its own engine, or is effectively, unlike, I would exclude Toro Rosso and Honda from this, because they're still very much in a finding things out phase, working out whether it will work or not. How can we tidy it up? Now, my argument is, obviously don't make everyone use the same engine, because that's not fair. I would suggest limiting the amount of contact each team has with its engine supplier. So the works teams then become limited. The works teams then suddenly become physically limited as to how much contact they have with their own engine departments. I appreciate that doesn't sound. Some people will go, "What? That's not fair." The whole point is to try and level it out. I'm not trying to be fair. I was trying to be fair. We'd stick a Mercedes power unit in the back of everyone. We get Cosworth involved instead. We would have a very different series of suggestions to what I have just pitched. You know, I'm not claiming this idea to be perfect. And like I said, teams like Toro Rosso, who are with the Honda power, they're going to have to be kind of excluded from this because of their engine manufacturer being based the other side of the world. they've got a more physical, they've got a more natural limitation anyway. I would make it so the engineering department will only talk to teams at certain times of the year. The engine department, that is, will only talk to teams at certain points of the year, and it's not to be sour grapes or anything like that. But I do think, despite the FIA directive that everyone must get the same engine, I don't think they are. Now, I appreciate you might want to go grabbing your tinfoil helmet and conspiracy theory and start playing the X-Files theme music, but listen to the logic. No one with the Mercedes power can get close to Mercedes. The only times Mercedes in this current hybrid formula have been close to beaten was when Massa put it on pole in Austria, when Massa and Bottas absolutely launched themselves at Silverstone in the FW36 and were leading for a good portion of that race. Or was it FW37? I can't remember which one it was. But either way, when they absolutely just launched themselves into the lead, that's the closest they've come to being beaten. When the Force Indias were faster than the Williams, the Force Indias couldn't get close to the Mercedes. The Mercs were off on another planet because they were so much faster than everyone else. His mum and dad are going to have so much fun trying to get into this box. The long and the short of it is, I don't believe it. But I really don't. I don't think the engine parity has worked. I think we're going to find teams are going to start now openly accusing their suppliers of not giving them the right engines. I wouldn't be at all surprised if Williams and Mercedes have a falling out by the end of this year. I don't want them to, because I think it's Williams' best chance of getting back to the front, or at least getting into a position where they can employ the likes of an Alonso, a Raikkonen, and a Vettel to drag the car round the track as best as they can. To be honest, they should have made a play to get Fernando at the end of last year. They should have said, look, our car's done this, we could have done that for you. And then he could have worked with his friend Kubica if they still signed him. It's just a mess. The long and the short of it is, F1 is just in a bloody mess, and it's not just the engines. That does not help one little bit. And then the fucking expense of the things. Excuse my French, but the expense of the engines. How on earth? If Haas didn't have the backing that it does from Ferrari, if it didn't have the backing and the success it's had in NASCARs, in just Haas engineering itself, Haas Automotive, then they'd be nowhere. They probably would have gone tits up by now. Tits up, tits out, whichever way you want to call it. Tits out's obviously a lot more fun. But it wouldn't have worked. So, I just realised I'm massively off centre. So, there's not really a right or a wrong way to fix the situation. The only way to fix it is for everyone to be open and honest. This is F1. They will not be open and honest with each other. Just don't know what the right thing to do is. It's not my place to fix it, because obviously I'm not in Formula 1. It's highly unlikely that anyone from F1 is ever going to watch this. And even if they did, they probably wouldn't ever ask my opinion. It's just wrong. Is the only way I can put it. So I have to focus very hard to make sure my handwriting is readable, because the guy at the post office just can't seem to read my handwriting. I know this is an immensely long... This recording probably... And at the moment it's 32 minutes, which it probably won't even be this long by the time it gets edited. That's even if it comes out at all. It's just... The whole situation in Formula 1 is just ridiculous. It's just silly. And I don't know... long and short of it is, I don't know how to fix it. I haven't got any ideas on how to fix it. I can't think of any ways forwards for the teams. Chalk it up to one of life's great mysteries. There will be no right or wrong answer to it. But anyway, we'll see how the season goes. But based on Australia, I just don't like what I've seen so far. It annoys the hell out of me. Putting it bluntly, it well and truly annoys the hell out of me. But anyway, we will have to leave it there. I've now got to get out and get this parcel posted, because this is actually now a belated birthday present, because I actually meant to gone down there to drop it off and give it to the little lad himself, but it's not going to happen. So we'll see what happens. Remember to drive safe. We've put up the final part of building F1 team, which is one. Well, I was going to say we've put up the final part, but there's actually a bonus part coming out shortly. And how shortly is another matter entirely. But there is another piece on the way out that you'll probably like. Get involved on the hashtag. Come across and like us on our Facebook page. It's just Velocity Kinetics is our Facebook page. Trying to wean it off being just F1 because most of the posts seem to be just F1 related. Need to try and get some more greener car technology stuff being posted. But drive safe and look after yourselves. Velocity Kinetics has been made in association with Road Race Parts. Top quality, best prices, no compromise. Head to roadraceparts.com to get parts for your racing vehicles now.